What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward, some important factors involved in the markets, what you should be watching for as time goes on. But before I break things down with this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, looking at SPYs, things continuing to soar to all-time highs as we managed to close right there, and the market's continuing to just push and push and push. But the question is the market about to push to new all-time highs, or are we about to see a very, very big rejection? So I'm going to give you guys more insights about this going into tomorrow and how things are personally looking. But I first want to talk about this. We have some very important data coming out for tomorrow being Monday, July 8th, 2024. So just know that at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Consumer Inflationary Expectations Report coming out for the month of June. This is especially important considering that we have CPI coming out in just a couple of days, not to mention PPI. Then at 11:30 a.m., we actually have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out. This could also cause some volatility. So tomorrow, look for some volatility around the 11 o'clock a.m. hour, at least for Eastern Standard Time. Now, you may think that this is very important, this is very significant, but just know that Monday is not as crazy as like other days of the week. We actually have Jerome Powell giving a speech on Tuesday. He's going to be giving a testimony. So that's going to be very important as well. If he's questioned about how the economy is looking, he could provide a lot more insights for how things look, and this could cause another big move for the markets. And then for Wednesday, Wednesday, we also have Jerome Powell giving another speech. What he says will shake the markets, so get ready for that. And then Thursday and Friday is when we have CPI and PPI data coming out. CPI is going to be one of the most important things, at least for Thursday. That's going to cause some volatility, so get ready for that. It's going to be a pretty wild week, if anything. And then for Friday, not only do we have PPI data, but we also have lots of huge earnings coming out. So earnings season's about to start, guys, all over again for Q2 of 2024. And we have very, very minor earnings for like Monday and Tuesday. And even parts of Wednesday, it's going to be pretty minor for the most part. By Thursday, we have like PepsiCo and Delta Airlines announcing their earnings, which is a little bit more significant. And then Friday is going to be huge since we have the big bank earnings. We have JP Morgan Chase right here, we have Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and just a bunch of other big banks. So expect some high volatility and a big move on Friday for the finance sector, for many big banks out there and the overall market. Now, when it comes to the way sentiment is looking right now, the market is more neutral. It's actually leaning a little bit more in favor of greed, but it's still overall neutral. Now, with greed making up, a big amount of our emotions right now, this opens doors for more potential upside for the markets, especially because extreme greed is making up momentum. This is just based off position, though. When you look at this from momentum indicators, momentum is still strong for the markets nonetheless. This is what this is telling us. We're not necessarily around our 125 daily moving average. We're also not like dipping towards it. We're on a very, very strong momentum shift where the market is still very, very bullish. It's like a locomotive, a steamboat. It's just going and going and going. It has a lot of power. It's continuing to push with all this momentum, and the market's not ready to stop quite yet, according to this data. Now, the puts and call option positioning is also at extreme greed. Greed is making up sentiment. We're seeing this dipping a bit because we're still seeing a lot of these puts being closed. There's still a lot of call buying going on, and volatility is still quite neutral. It's still neutral right now. The VIX has not broken past the 50 daily moving average. It's still kind of looking lackluster. So what do I see for the future? What do I think is going to continue from here? Looking at SPY, we have a nice little push, a nice option that's being established. And we're actually making higher highs and higher lows. For 3 straight days, SPY was just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So now the question is, can this go even higher? That depends on a big test going into tomorrow. If we manage to break past 555, I think SPY will easily go up to about 556 and 557.5. But particularly around 557 is where we have interest if we break past 555. If we reject it and end up losing 554, I think we could be dipping all the way back down to about 552. And eventually 550.5 is going to be our key support. That's where we had the previous breakout. So notice how at 550.5, rejected one time and again, and then this is where the breakout happened. Generally, when you get a big rejection, if we were to get a big rejection, we'd be returning to 550.5 and try to bounce off that. That's like the more bearish case, and the more bullish case is us breaking higher. So what do I think is more probable? Well, as of right now, at the time I'm recording this video, the market's continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. It just pumped 3 days straight non-stop. So I'm in no position to say the market's going to reject because there's no sign of it just yet. And that's why you have to watch for a big test tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think SPY is going to try to retest 555. If we break it, we're going all the way up to 556 and 557.5. If not, we get a big rejection and we could be making our way back down towards 550.5 and then try to bounce off that again. So, what is more probable right now? Okay, at the time I'm recording this, things could change obviously tomorrow, but for now, we look more bullish. It looks like SPY is trying to push. I don't see much of a bearish catalyst quite yet, and we're remaining very, very bullish from a technical standpoint as we're getting more volume and we're starting to see a lot more big bars forming. So this suggests that SPY is going to attempt to push higher to at least 555, and we may even just break that and go to new all-time highs all over again. So the upside is looking more favorable, and the market is still holding up as of right now. For Tesla, Tesla is kind of shuffling at this 250 area, but just know that when you look at the accumulation structure on the chart, it looks more bullish. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders, and our main target is actually going to be this 260 area. That's the main level Tesla wants to get to. So I think Tesla will eventually get there, and it's going to happen like really, really soon. So how do I think this is going to go? Here's my prediction. I think that we're kind of in a chop zone. We're kind of shuffling a bit, but if you look at what happened on Friday, basically Tesla pumped and then we ended up rejecting a bit. We got a big move down from this like 254 area all the way down to about 242. So we dropped about 12 points. Then we started to hold our 20 EMA. So this is going to be our key support on the 1 hour time frame. And we made a nice V-shaped recovery. So this shows us that the buyers are still defending Tesla. They're still stepping in, and Tesla has a lot of strength. If we hypothetically end up losing, okay, 248, we're going to be tipping all the way down to 244. If we end up breaking past 253, we could be going all the way up to 255 and then 258. My gut is telling me that Tesla will most likely shuffle here for a bit, dip a little bit, come back up, and then continue to shuffle for some time. And then later on, I think that we will start to push back up. We'll try to break the high. I think we're going to be going to at least the mid 255 area, if not 258 again. I think we will still get up to about 260. We have a little bit more room left for Tesla. I don't think it's done yet, but just look for some consolidation and a push higher later on to 260 just for now. That's what I'm seeing, at least for the more short term. For Nvidia, we're looking a little bit lackluster on the hourly time frame. We made this attempt to kind of like break out and kind of struggle to do so. So I think that Nvidia is going to shuffle at this 125 area. If we lose this, I'll be looking at a 122.8 and lower levels. And if we hold this, we're going to be rebounding back up to 130, excuse me. So I think what's very probable is we're going to dip a little bit towards 124.5. Then we're going to rebound, just continue to kind of consolidate in this range. And then we're going to be looking to see what the next move is. Because if you look what happened on Friday, Nvidia was looking kind of weak. So I think there's going to be a risk of it coming back down towards this 124 area. This is where we had the previous breakout. And then we're going to just consolidate around here and just see what the next move is going to be. But I'm seeing some weakness on Nvidia's chart. There's a risk of it just coming down and consolidating, maybe even dipping a bit. But that's looking more probable for now. I'm not seeing it like breaking out or anything. For now, it's just going to consolidate unless we need some kind of big piece of news for it to break out. So we're not ready quite yet. For Bitcoin, we have a nice looking structure right here trying to rebound. It depends if we can try to hold above 56,000 or not. If we hold above this, I think we could be retesting 59,000 for a nice little rebound. So I think that's more probable, at least for Bitcoin moving forward. There's a good chance it's going to try to rebound just a little bit more, and this could actually help the market to some extent. For the QQQ, we're looking pretty strong right now. If you actually zoom out, let me show you something very interesting. We're making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. The 4 hour is still looking very, very bullish. There's no sign of us breaking down. Make sure you watch 494 and then 492 as key supports, not to mention 490. If we were to lose 490, we're going to turn a little bit more bearish, and I do think we could start dipping quite a little bit more. If we end up holding above where we are and we break past 496.5, then I think we're easily going all the way up to get very close to about 500. What do I think is more favorable? Well, looking at the big bar on the 4 hour and how strong we're looking on the QQQ, I would say this chart favors retesting 496.5. If we get that rejection, 494 is coming. If we break through this, we're easily going up towards 500. My gut tells me we're going to touch this, kind of consolidate, and start pushing for 500. That looks more probable in my personal opinion. For Aapl, Apple's on a very, very nice looking uptrend, trying to push higher, especially as the 4 hour is looking more bullish. So I favor 227 to be tested on Aapl, 227 or so. If we break that, we could get very close to 230. So I'd say that we look more bullish on the 4-hour time frame, and I favor upside as a stronger possibility. Apple's looking more bullish, so watch for that very, very carefully, and I favor upside as a stronger possibility. Now, with that being said, guys, that's my analysis for the main five I typically focus a lot more on, at least in my videos for news and such. Now we're just going to focus on the rest of these tickers. Looking at Palantir, we look very bullish on the 4-hour time frame because we got a nice breakout right here, and we've actually broken this resistance. We actually got past 26.5. So this looks like it wants to go all the way up towards about 28. That's my target. It looks a little bit more bullish to me. So look for a push for 28 and see how we end up reacting to that. We look more bullish, technically speaking. For Supermicro, we're consolidating right now near our EMAs. We'll have to see if we can try to break resistance or not. If we break through this resistance around 850, I would look for about 867 or so to be retested. If we reject here, I'll be looking at 831. If that fails us, we're coming all the way back down towards 800. This looks like it's going to try to hold up relatively well, maybe try to push higher. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. But just know that Supermicro is looking a bit more bullish. For Rivian's once again on a very, very nice looking uptrend, trying to hold its 20 EMA. So it's going to be a key support. If we lose 14.33, we're dipping all the way down to 13.5. As long as we hold above this, we could slowly try to push our way back up to 15.5. So it just depends if we could hold this or not. There isn't really much of a bearish catalyst from what I'm looking at so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually come back, we retest 14.3 and then try to rebound to about 15. That looks a little bit more favorable to me. For SoFi, now we have a head and shoulders like structure that's developing, but I wouldn't solely trade based off that. This is like a left shoulder here, a head and a right shoulder. If we fail to break past 6.54, I think that this may be dipping all the way down to about 6.4 all over again. So there's going to be a little bit of a dip coming. If we break past the 50 EMA, I think we could be pushing to this high again. So it all depends if we can break 6.54 or not. I'll be watching that very carefully. But this does have a bearish looking pattern, and it's kind of lackluster, especially as the market pumped in why SoFi is just kind of in the red. So yes, I am seeing some weakness on the chart. For the IWM Russell 2000, a little bit of weakness as well. I need to see this try to get back above 202, above its 200 EMA to turn back to bullish. If we fail to do so, I'll be looking for it to back down towards 199. If that fails us, I see this coming all the way down towards like the 197 area. So there's a risk of this kind of rejecting. I'll be watching to see if that ends up happening on the 4-hour time frame. I'm seeing some weakness that's kind of building right over here. If that ends up being the case, this head and shoulders could end up playing out, and this could lead to some downside, at least moving forward. But I personally think that we're looking a little bit weak on the IWM, unfortunately. I think that we could be retesting this 199 area. So a little bit of a dip could be coming. Watch for confirmation to turn more bearish, but I do see a little dip coming, at least at the very least. AMD, on the other hand, is looking a little bit stronger. Why is it looking stronger? Because we're at this resistance to be watching for right here. So it's building some strength right here. I think that because we hit 175 and haven't cracked this quite yet, we might dip just a little bit. I think we might be retesting like 169. Then we could try to bounce and continue from there. But I think that there's going to be a little dip and then possibly a bounce. We're still looking pretty strong. There's a nice amount of momentum that's building. Look for a little dip and a bounce. I think we're going to be retesting previous resistance around this 169 area, then try to bounce back up. That's looking a lot more probable to me. For ARM is also trying to push right now, looking bullish on the 4-hour time frame. I think there's a good chance that we're going to be going all the way up towards 184. I think there's more upside coming, so ARM is holding up very well. For Coinbase, okay, Coinbase is so right now. We managed to close very close to where this trend line happens to be. We kind of gapped down, now we're trying to push. If we manage to break past 224, I think we're going to be pushing up for 228, and if that breaks, 232 is coming. If we end up losing support right here around 221, we could be dipping all the way down to this imbalance towards 215. But overall, it looks to me like it wants to go high. I just need confirmation to be safe, but I think it favors trying to push a little bit from here after getting a bit of a dip. So it favors upside, but just to be safe, watch for confirmation if you try to break past 224, and we'll give this all the time it needs. For Amzn has a very, very nice looking bullish wedge that's been kind of like developing right here. If we manage to break past 200, I'll be looking for 202, then 205. If we end up losing 196, then we'll be dipping all the way down towards 192. But overall, I think that there's more upside potential for 202. The 4-hour is looking a little bit more bullish, and I favor upside a little bit more. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. For Meta is also trying to break out on the 4-hour time frame. We have this 540 area as our resistance. If we break this, I think that we could be going all the way up towards 544. If we reject here, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards about 532. But from a technical standpoint, look at these huge bars developing on Meta. It just pumped like crazy. Typically, stocks don't just reject like this. They try to continue the next day. So the odds favor 544 than 550 on Meta. It's looking a little bit more bullish to me. For Microsoft, just like Meta, it looks bullish. It's holding up even in the after hours. Going to be looking at 468. If we break this, 470 is coming. If you want to turn bearish, you want to see it lose 466. If 466 fails on the chart, we'll be dipping all the way down to 464. And eventually 461.5 would be our next target down there. But the 4 hour is looking strong and more bullish. So this is favoring 468 and 470 being tested. The 4 hour on Meta on Microsoft, is looking more bullish. Google is also looking more bullish. We're trying to break out right here. If we manage to break past, 192.25, I'll be looking for 194 as our next potential target. If you want to turn bearish, you want to be looking for a retest of this breakout area, this 188 to 190 zone right here. So if we turn bearish, look for kind of like a change in structure and a retest right over here of 188 before it tries to bounce. And for bullish, you want to see it break past 194. I favor 194 because it's still looking very strong after a crazy day on Friday. So the market does not look done to me quite yet. For GameStop, it tried to rebound to about 25, then came short. We need to break past 24.7 for it to turn back to bullish and start pushing higher. If you reject, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 23.8. And if that fails us, we're going to be dipping down towards 23. But if you look at this, the 4 hour is looking more bullish, at least on GME. We could make a higher low here and then start pushing higher. This is looking pretty bullish, at least in my personal opinion, as long as we try to break that high. So if GameStop makes a higher low here, this could actually turn to a bullish structure for a nice double bottom, and we could actually look for a little push on GameStop as long as we can kind of like come down, establish a higher low, and start pushing out. That is very probable. AMC has some potential to try to hold up. It's actually holding above 5, which is a good sign. This is also forming kind of like a cup-like structure. If we close above 5 tomorrow, I'll be looking for a push back up to this high. If we lose 4.9, the 50 EMA, we turn back to bearish. My gut tells me AMC is going to dip a bit and maybe try to bounce. So there could be some bullish structure developing on AMC and GameStop. I see potential in those. DJT is looking more bearish. We have that gap to fill below. We were calling out downside on this for quite some time. So I think it's going to come down to at least fill this gap at 27. Look for more downside on DJT. For the VIX is kind of in the middle, not really doing much. We need to try to break 12.5 to at least get back up to about 13.2. Hasn't done that yet. It's still kind of shuffling here. So I'm going to give this some time just to see how things develop. For the 10-year treasury yield, we're still kind of bearish looking, at least on the 4-hour time frame. If we continue to fall, I'll be looking for about 4.25, still looking kind of bearish. The dollar index is also kind of like downtrending right here, kind of dipping for quite some time. I think that this might actually dip towards 104.6. This is looking more bearish because once again, this is favoring the market pushing higher just for now. So as far as technicals go, we remain more bullish. Just know the market's approaching new all-time highs, so it's a little bit risky. So be a little bit careful in trying to play this. Be very, very patient with the way things go, and pay close attention. So for SPY, for example, watch and see, do we reject off that 555 area or not? As of right now, we're favoring upside, like the market's getting bought up. We had 3 straight green days, so there's no sign of us rejecting it, so give the market some more time. But just know that the bulls have the edge right now, and they are favoring more upside going into tomorrow. Just to be safe, watch for confirmation as always, but just know the bulls still have the edge. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected through everything. And I will see you guys very soon tomorrow morning before the market opens to talk about some data and how the charts end up looking. Thanks for listening. And once again, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow. Thank you and peace out.